Put a nice bottle of Chianti on ice. Talking Silence is back.
On Talking Silence, they unravel the tale. Every twist, every turn, never fail. Movies, TV shows, and life and style. In the realm of pen and all, they find a big out. On Talking Silence.
Hello, everyone, and we are back. This is Talking Silence, reliving everything Hannibal Lecter related. I'm 1/3, well, technically 1/4, but 1/3 of us is not here. My name is Ryan Cam, joined by Jason, the old millennial, and Jacob Collins. Guys, how you doing?
Good.
And as you can see from the background, Matt Wyatt is not here. He decided to take up a screening of Companion over being with us.
Okay.
So we will have words later, but in the edited version, he did send his thoughts, and so me in the future, when you're editing this, put in the thoughts here.
What up, guys? So I couldn't make it to the new episode of Talking Silence podcast with Ryan Cam and 3D Movie Cinema, and hopefully next time I'll be in the next one. But as of now, I'm pre-recording it and give you my initial thoughts on episodes 7 through 9 of season 1 of Hannibal, which I am a fan of the show so far, and I have not been caught up on season 1, 2, or 3, so I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. I'm simply going on the journey and seeing how this all plays out and get into the whole nitty-gritty. And hopefully next time I'll be on the next podcast, but we'll wait and see what happens depending on my schedule. And since we've been on a very hiatus of Talking Silence for several months now because of scheduling conflict, but now we're getting back on and pick up where we left off. And so for episode 7, Sorbet, my initial thoughts of that, I thought it was a damn good episode, especially when we see that the whole murder was a coincidence by a man who was found dead in his hotel room in the bathroom. His kidney was missing, and Will Graham is seeing that as he's analyzing it, he thinks that this is not the Ripper's move, and that this was just a coincidence, and this is just he was trying to save this man's life while he was taking out his kidney. So basically, he's more of an organ donor, and we got 2 killers, and this gives Hannibal Lecter a little bit more opportunity to harvest more organs from every people that he had come across with in his business card. And I thought that whole montage of him harvesting organs, it was absolutely fucking insane. It's part of his own ingredients that he's serving a dinner party with his own people that he have come across past with at the opera. And I thought that was so disturbing to watch. And we cross paths at the opera with Franklin, played by Dan Folger. He introduces his best friend Tobias, which he comes across a little bit of a shady and comes across a little bit of a sociopath, and it seems like he's very fond of Hannibal Lecter. And as we see the whole therapy section between Hannibal and Franklin, and he's starting to see that Franklin wants to be his best bud. He is so obsessed with them that he wants someone that he can actually listen and open up to. And Hannibal Lecter refuses to be friends with them because he doesn't want to be friends with them. Like, hey, I'm your patient, nothing more. And he meets up with his colleagues that is played by the actress, which you may have known her from the X-Files, which I had no idea she was in the show. And this is played by Gillian Anderson, and she is so damn good in this episode. As they're in a little bit of a therapy session, it just kind of reminds him of himself that he wanted to be friends with her, and they've known each other for a long time. And it seems to me that she might know that what he really is, a cannibal. I could be wrong. I might be reading into it, but she does come off a little bit off for me, especially she comes off very calm and a little bit more like Hannibal's personality. And with Lawrence Fishburne, this character, he is still haunted by the guilt of his own training officer, that is Miriam Less, who got killed by the Ripper himself, who is Hannibal Lecter in secret. And he because we see in earlier episodes that he saw a missing arm, which is his training officer, and it seems like he's trying to haunt him and humiliate him. And he is so haunted by the guilt of getting her killed, and he's having nightmares, and he's been so bent on getting revenge and so obsessed with catching the Ripper so that he can bring him to justice. And he's also having nightmares and seeing fucking Will Graham in his own nightmare. And I thought that scene itself, when he's waking up in the morgue and he's all sewed up in his corpse, was so fucking disturbing. Holy shit! And he's worried that the more he keeps pushing Will Graham to hunt down the Ripper, the more he's gonna try to repeat the same pattern. Performances was absolutely incredible. And Dan Fogler, which I've only known him for a lot of comedic roles. I never thought that he can pull off doing dramatic roles, and I thought he did. Overall, this episode was definitely really good. I don't think it's as strong as the other two episodes that I will get into, and finding the whole Organ Order was a little bit of anticlimactic. I kind of wanted a little bit more, and it felt a little bit off to me. But that moment when they catch him and Hannibal goes inside the ambulance and tries to stop the bleeding or whatever that is that they're doing, when Will Graham is looking straight at Hannibal Lecter, he kind of found itself a little interesting that he might know that there might be something off about Hannibal, and he's not so sure. And even Will Graham is having a little bit of a sleeping problem because of what we saw him in those last episodes, that he's sleepwalking and he's not so sure if he's awake or dreaming. And I thought that was seeing itself with him and Abigail that we see as one of the main characters was a little bit creepy and disturbing as they're sitting next to each other. But yeah, overall, this episode was so good, and especially the last ending scene where he's now presenting his own own meal to his people on the dinner table with all these human organs without anyone knowing. Which, when he was making it, oh god, I wanted to fucking throw up. Oh my god, like, we know that Hannibal is a monster, but he's a monster with a purpose. So I'm gonna give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. This episode was really good. I don't think it's, like I said before, I don't think this is as strong as the other episodes. My thoughts on the 8th episode, called Foreminch. I thought this was the best of the 3 episodes. I thought the antagonist, Tobias, was definitely very compelling villain. He comes off very creepy, and Hannibal Lecter is the reminder of himself, and he's been trying so hard to get his attention by killing his victim, a musician, and by shoving a cello down his throat and use it as an instrument. He wants an audience. He's just trying to get his attention because he knows what he is. And when you're getting into the scene in the therapy section with Franklin talking about his best friend showing a lot of red flags, and he simply had to Google psychopaths to see the signs that he's given him, and Tobias is doing it on purpose because he's trying to get to talk to Franklin to get through to Hannibal Lecter because he wants to be friends with him, someone who can understand him of what he's going through, and he wants to share it with him. And you know how he gets his strings from the cello by cutting off his victim's organs and use it as the strings to strung up as a cello instrument. And I thought that was fucking sickening. A lot more than I imagined it would be, and it was very disturbing to watch. And the actor who played Tobias, as I brought up before, you may have recognized him, that he played Raphael, the Archangel in Supernatural. He's a great actor, and I already spotted him being a psychopath right away because he does come off of very shady and very creepy. And with Will Graham investigating, he starts to hallucinate and hearing things, while hearing a dog barking from a mile away and thinking that someone's injured, or hearing another animal coming through the chimney. He realizes that he's hallucinating, and he's starting to add a little bit of he's starting to have romantic feelings of his doctor, Elena, and he starts to make his move, and she rejected him because she doesn't think it's going to work between the two of them. And I thought that scene was really good because she wants to, like, be close to him and someone that she can fix. That scene in the dinner with table between Tobias and Hannibal Lecter, of how much they both share the same common interest, and Tobias wants to share it with Hannibal Lecter, and he refuses. Then they get into the big climactic fight, and I thought that between the two of them was absolutely brutal. And Hannibal Lecter is a good fighter. He is a ruthless motherfucker. But as Franklin comes in and tries to intervene and tries to stop his Tobias from doing something that he regrets, the moment that happens, Hannibal Lecter just out of nowhere fucking snaps Franklin's neck, and that caught me off guard. I was like, oh fucking shit, holy fucking shit, he is so fucking ruthless. It's because that the reason why he did it, because he wanted to stage the murder and try to pin it on Tobias, so like, he keeps the suspicion off of Hannibal. And I thought that scene was absolutely brilliant. Overall, that this is a great episode. And with Will Graham, he is starting to lose track in his own reality. He starts to hallucinate a lot more. His mental stability is getting a lot worse. I would give this episode a 10 out of 10 for the 8th episode called Fromage. I don't know if I pronounced that title right, but if I did, I apologize. Now, my thoughts on episode 9 called Trial Normand. Yeah, this episode, I don't think that this was the strongest out of the 3. I feel like that this had a little bit of a fillery, especially when we focus on the totem murderer who is stacking up bodies from throughout time of like the bodies and added as a totem in the middle of the beach, and it was discovered. And I thought that visually it looked great. And we always wondering, like, is this a Ripper or it? Because most of these episodes that we always suspected that was Hannibal's victims, but most of the time it's always been someone else's. I love how they played it out well, but I feel like that the reveal felt very anticlimactic. But we see that Will Graham is losing hours of his life. That 1 minute that he's on the beach, and then in the next few hours later, he's in Hannibal Lecter's office and he's starting to lose his mind, and it's getting a lot worse. And it's insane. And he starts to hallucinate. He's also he's also hallucinating to giving a whole lecture in the class, and then find out that Dr. Bloom, we see from her end that he thinks he's just talking to himself, and he thinks she thinks that he's rehearsing. And their relationship started to really progress, but she does not want it to be with him because he's mentally unstable. And until he is stable, she does not want to be with him, and she rejects him. And we already know that Will Graham is starting to become more unstable as the series progresses. And now we cut back to Abigail in the episode where she's having nightmares of all the victims that her father committed, especially the one victim that she killed was Nick Boyle. And it's haunting her in her nightmares, and she can't handle it anymore. And even the journalist that we see, that she wants her to write a book that will help her getting through her guilt. And she starts to dig up the body of Nick Boyle, and because she wants to have the feds find his body so that it can help her guilty conscience. At least that's how I interpret that episode. And as she tells Hannibal what really happened, his trust is starting to run itself thin, and he doesn't know if he can trust her. Because what happens if he can't? He's probably going to have to kill her. And he knows he wants to protect her to cover his own ass. That's what's really going on. And Lawrence Fishburne's character discovered that the victim was not by the totem killer. It was killed by a hunting knife, which Abigail's father uses it to teach her how to do hunting with the hunting knife. The same one. And he knows that was Abigail that killed Nick Boyle. And when we later find out in the episode that Will Graham is starting to see the analyst of the body of Nick Boyle, and he starts to put 2 and 2 together, that it was definitely Abigail. He knows the truth, and he comes to Hannibal that that Abigail was the one that killed Nick Boyle, and suddenly, like, Hannibal confesses. He came clean that he knows that he's trying to protect her and cover from her murder. And now he's very conflicted whether he should turn her into the feds or protect her. And Hannibal Lecter just emotionally manipulated him and to trap him and completely brainwash him into protecting Abigail, because he knows that if he turns her in, her future is completely over. It's done. If she turns herself in, she would also snitch on Hannibal Lecter and who he really is. That it's just a crazy plot twist, especially the plot twist when we found out who the totem killer was. Some old man who kills people out of passion and stack their bodies, and he decides to turn himself in because he's already old and he's on his dying days. And it's played by Lance Henriksen, which I thought was a great guest star cameo for Lance Henriksen, because I think he's an incredible actor. He's been in a couple of James Cameron movies like Aliens and The Terminator. But I thought that the reveal was a little bit too anticlimactic. I felt like he was just used to further the plot with Will Graham and Hannibal Lecter and Abigail. That's my biggest negative. So overall, it was still a great episode. I give this episode a 9 out of 10. So those are my initial thoughts on episode 7 through 9. Yeah, these episodes were so damn good. I cannot wait to see what happens next and what will happen with Will, that he is maybe slowly discovering and starting to put the pieces together of who Hannibal Lecter really is. And I can't wait to see how this plays out in the first season.
Weren't those great and well thought out? But
Very interesting.
Matt is beloved, and his link will be in the description. Go give him a subscribe. But guys, we're back. It's been a minute, and Collins, you were talking to us before we went live. Joe Biden was president when we last did an episode
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
He
Boy, how
literally
people-
announced he dropped out the day we shot the last episode. I'm just like, it's been months, guys. We're back though. It's been a while. It's been a while.
So, been at least
Quote
3
Spain.
months.
Oh, it's been longer than that. It's been longer than that. But
I think it
long
was
as-
July. I think it was July, or it was Deadpool and Wolverine was about to come out because I was watching X-Men 2.
Oh, wow.
I was watching X-Men 2, like, and I was like,
6 months?
do you guys remember? By the way, I was just wondering, curious. Do y'all remember what happened like the last couple of episodes when you were watching the new ones, or were you just like, I think I remember this?
I watched the 3 episodes. Yeah, it's like 6 months ago. So I can kind of remember them.
You watched
'Cause
them
I thought-
3 months ago? You didn't watch them like just recently, or like?
No, I was like, I already saw them. I didn't want to go through them again. So I was like,
Yeah.
well,
Oh, well, don't
I-
worry, Jason. We got you. We got you. We got you. So basically, Abigail Hobbs. Basically, one episode is basically an EMT is just killing people, basically like an organ donor, and
Mhm.
he drives around a pair. And then the other one is, well, Franklin apparently has a gay lover. Well, it's not a gay lover. I mean, it's his best friend. But I'm like, really? I don't know how many people have a guy that goes on dates with them, man dates with them, and then literally is like, just like, oh, he's into this fancy stuff like me. And I'm like, dude, you're on a date, man. I don't give a shit what you're on. That is a date if I've ever seen one. Okay, I'm sitting there watching this going, and then even Hannibal asked him, "Are you two you lovers?" He goes, "Oh no. I mean, one time in college maybe, but like I'm like." He says, "But no, I don't swing that way. We're just good friends." And I'm like, "You were on a date with him, bro. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You were on a date." Okay, I don't look. Okay, it's different if you and a bunch of guys are going to the movies, but when you take another man to see like a cello performance, okay, and you're wearing like nice attire, that is a date. Okay, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
that is a date.
yeah.
That is a date.
Yeah,
But,
there's
yeah.
a fine line when it comes to things like that, and they're not dancing on the line. They've jumped over the line.
It's like I was watching what was it, Spider-Man, the new animated Spider-Man show that's on Disney Plus, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And there's like this jock in the man, it's kind of like a Flash Thompson guy. And this dude really is into Peter, even though he's not like, oh, he's just like, but like the subtlety I'm watching going, oh, Peter, no, he wants to fuck you, Peter. Cause like, he's literally, oh, where's Peter at? Like, where's Peter? Oh, cause Peter, I want him to be my lab partner. Peter, where you at, Peter? Like literally his friends on the phone where Peter's at Oscorp in the show. And then he says, "Is that Peter on the phone? Tell him come over here. Come on." And I'm like, this dude is like, the dude is literally so into Peter. I'm just like, dude, he's like, have y'all seen 22 Jump Street?
It's been a while.
Been a while,
There's-
yeah.
Yeah, but there's a scene where Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son, is like this like football player, and he's like good friends with Channing Tatum, and they bond over, he's like, oh man. And then at the end of the movie, when he hugs Jonah Hill, he goes, "They're gonna be a great couple. Too bad we couldn't be a couple together." And then
Really?
one guy was like, "What the fuck?" One guy looks at me, and like, "What the fuck are you talking?" I was just like, that makes so much sense. But yeah, I was just sitting there watching that, and it reminded me when I was watching that Spider-Man cartoon. It reminded me of that scene. I'm like, oh no, Peter, he wants to fuck you. He's not like he's not your buddy. He's like, no, he's into like. But then this reminded me that while I was watching Hannibal today, I'm like, no, Franklin, Franklin, you don't realize you're reading over the lines. You're not reading between the lines, man. Which I really do think, though, that the only thing is that made me laugh. The dude was so annoyed by Franklin. He was trying to kill Franklin. He's like, no, I'm planning on killing him. This isn't really a date. I mean, he might think it's a date or so, but like, no, I'm going to kill him. He's just my victim. I'm just literally, I am the cat. He's the mouse.
Well, we'll dive into that and more, but leave a like, subscribe, do the normal thing here on the channel. The channel is just going skyward in terms of subscribers, so I do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. If you're watching the edited version, leave a comment down below. We would appreciate it very much. But without any further ado, let us get into it. This is Season 1, Episode 7, called Sorbet, which is a very lovely fruit ice cream.
He's the murderer that's eluded them for years.
Looks like the Chesapeake Ripper.
And now, new cases are bringing them closer.
They're all missing different organs.
But the question is, how do you stop a killer when the killer is the one helping you?
Dr. Lecter, you care to join us in catching the Ripper? How could I refuse?
And
You are my patient and my colleague, not my friend.
Gillian Anderson guest stars on NBC's Hannibal. Watch it next Thursday at 10/9 Central.
The BAU is called in when a man is found in a hotel room bathtub with his kidney removed. That's what happens at a Motel 6. And Graham must determine whether this is an act of an organ harvester or if the Chesapeake Ripper has claimed his first victim in 2 years. Meanwhile, Crawford continues to be haunted by the discovery of Miriam Lass's arm. Dr. Bloom suspects that Crawford has become obsessed with catching the Ripper and is putting Graham in danger by making him chase the Ripper. So I think of this one, this is like of the three, this is like the middle of the road one for me. There's a really good one and a not so good one, and this is the middle of the road one for me. But Jason, what did you think?
Yeah, I think the next two episodes have the more gruesome murders in it, if I remember right. Yeah, so I kind of agree with you on that, in that sense that this is mostly, I don't remember if there was any gruesome murders, but mostly about the organ harvest, whatever, and whether it's the Ripper or whatever, or is it just a harvester? And I do like the whole Fishburne, he's Crawford, I believe, is obsessed with the Ripper because of his former student being murdered. And he probably is a little too obsessed with doing that, while Graham he's a little more hesitant to say it's the Ripper. I think it's an interesting dynamic there. And I don't know if it's this one, but I know Graham is like starting to lose his mind probably at this point.
Well, it's hinted like it's starting to show like when
like he's forgetting where he's at or something. I don't know if that's this episode, but yeah, so we definitely seen him deteriorate, which is interesting. And besides that, I don't remember a lot about this one. Again, it doesn't have a memorable scene to my mind, but I'm sure it was okay.
I was telling Collins off air, Dr. Will Graham's mind of any fictional character is the one I'd like to have the least. Because, like, just the ability to walk in the footsteps of a serial killer, that's not a gift.
He sees himself murdering people. He sees himself murdering.
Yeah.
There's a saying in the Hellraiser films, angel to some, demon to others. That's not an angel, that's a demon on your back. And so, like, that is something that I just don't want.
Well, I will say one thing that I think that I really like how it doesn't portray Hannibal like downright evil, but it does portray him as a character who he never really he tries to be like he could play both sides of that coin where like Hannibal Lecter truly does feel like I believe what he's saying. I don't think his intention is to hurt Will. I just think he is like literally like a don't get in my way and you'll be fine. But if you're in my way, then you're in my path and it's not going to end well for you. That's the way I see this Hannibal Lecter. Versus Hopkins, where he's more of like, regardless of whether you're on my side or in my way, I'm going to kill you because I want to eat you. And I don't truly think, I wanted to ask you guys, do you think he's serving the food to the people, or do you think he's just saving that for himself? The human.
No, I mean, I'm fairly certain that he's serving some of that to his guests. I mean, he must get some kind of pleasure out of doing something like that.
Well, I mean, I know the true answer. I can't tell you, but like, I was just wondering, like, if you guys thought he did or didn't, because they reveal if he did or didn't later down the line. But I will say this: Hannibal Lecter. I will say about this episode, I really, really enjoy the opening. Is where like the episode starts out where they're at the cello concert and he's just sitting there listening to it. I love how it paid homage to Red Dragon movie, the opening, where it's like, oh, just like in the movie, only in the movie, Anthony Hopkins hears the guy's not playing a good note, so he kills the guy. Where his one, he's just literally, and then his patient, which by the way, his patient literally tells him, "Oh, I knew you liked cello, so I literally was just going around buying tickets to cello." I'm like, that's not something you tell your therapist, because then they're gonna tell you like, "Okay, we're done here because you're stalking me," basically.
Yeah, you're stalking me.
I'm just saying. Like, what the hell? If I told my therapist that, my therapist would say, "Okay, I'm gonna recommend you to another therapist." Okay. And he's like, "Why can't we be friends?" I'm like, "Because," I'm like, "Dude, Franklin, he's your therapist.
Yeah.
You go there to, you can't be friends with your therapist. I'm sorry, that's not how it works." I'm just like, what is this deal? Like, oh, I'm like, Franklin has no sense of reality with this whatsoever. I'm just like, he doesn't
Agreed.
realize he's on a date. He doesn't realize he can't be friends with his therapist. Like, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be just like Hannibal Lecter." You know, I'm just like, to which I'm like, it kind of made me mad when Hannibal goes to his therapist and tells his therapist, like, "Well, I mean, he's really nice and everything." And I kind of like, should I be friends? I'm like, why are you even entertaining this idea? No, you're his therapist. It's a patient confidence, a patient doctor relationship. You cannot but then later he exploits that by having his mandate guy Tobias over for dinner, which I'm just like, which I mean, we all know why he had him over, because he's gonna kill him. But like, still, I just thought that was like the whole thing about that. I'm like, why are we even entertaining this idea? Like, no, Franklin, no, he's your patient. Franklin is your patient. He's not your friend. You know, even Will Graham kind of exploits that with Will Graham, because Will Graham, like, he sees him, but I would say Will Graham's more of a colleague to him that he just occasionally sees, versus Franklin, who is someone who pays him to therapy him. So I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, I did like the part of the episode where it kind of shows that, you know, Hannibal and, like, you know, I also really like how Hannibal giving his blood, because he gives his blood to the doctor, and then the doctor kind of says something where Hannibal's like, "Oh shit, this can incriminate me." So then Hannibal cuts his gas line, and then the doctor's like, "Oh man," Hannibal pulls up and he's like, "Oh, you need a hand?" He goes, "Do I recognize you?" And then the doctor's just cut open and his heart and everything's missing.
Like, Mads Mikkelsen is just smooth in general, but in this show, like, he's like extra smooth. Like, there's just certain situations I just go, yeah, you're Hannibal Lecter in your prime. Like, you're enjoying this a little bit too much.
I mean, you could argue that whenever this Hannibal Lecter, though, you could argue that he's more of like, I mean, I'm stealing this from the showrunner, Brian Fuller's take. Hopkins is more of like demented madman who wants to be. Mad Mikkelsen's more like the devil. He can literally be on your shoulder and manipulate you, because he is going to, like, you know, achieve his goal. And, you know, and he's like, right now he's trying to use, like, you know, Abigail Hobbs. He's trying to use Will. He's trying to use the FBI, because he knows, like, okay, every time they're a step ahead, I can just go and try to divert them in this direction to try to get them in that direction, because and I like the fact that he can play that card, you know, where he's like, you know, like for instance, when he takes his blood, he goes, "Oh, this is gonna be bad for me," you know, because if they they use that blood, they're gonna figure out I am the Chesapeake Ripper. They're gonna figure out he's a cannibal, and that would kind of, like, you know, 2 and 2, and so it's like, yeah, that's not good. So he's like, I got to kill this guy and get rid of the blood sample. I got to kill this guy. Which I'm like, why? You know, I mean, I understand. I'm like, but I'm also saying, wouldn't they send somebody else to take your blood? You know, if like that blood sample never makes it, they're like, hey, I mean, or maybe Will took that guy's blood, or maybe Hannibal took that guy's blood and just said, here's my blood. I'm like, oh, it's normal. Yeah. It's like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, what did y'all think, though, of Jack seeing visions showing the same fate might happen to Will? He sees the girl, the FBI trainee that he sent to Hannibal, and that Hannibal took her out. What did you see about when I saw her hand in, like, the drawer? What did y'all think about that? Like, how he's sitting Will and he keeps having nightmares about Will being dead and missing an arm.
Thing I love about this show is that when they do a dream sequence, they go full out with it. Like, we'll talk about one when we talk about Fromage, the one with the cello, Collins. I think you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Tobias.
They do a dream sequence or a vision, and they don't hold back. They treat it like it's it'll stay with you a while. I'll just leave it at that.
Also, it's really weird. Like literally, they just like all of a sudden Will like he goes to see his after he sees Franklin, he goes and he looks in the lobby and no one's there. And I'm thinking, at first I was thinking, were you just expecting like he said like were you just like I lost track of time, no one's here. And then no, but it turns out Hannibal goes and looks in his appointment book and goes, wait, Will Graham's supposed to be here. And then he walks down the hallway. He goes like I guess to the FBI. No, he leaves. No, he didn't go walk down the hallway. He goes down to the FBI and he sees Will and he goes, "You missed your appointment. I usually take 24 hours." I laughed when he said, "I usually can't. My patients usually 24 hours for them to cancel." It sounds like I laughed about that, and then it's like he still has the appointment. I would have made me laugh if he would have said, "Also, I'm still booking you for today. This counts as an appointment. This counts as an appointment." But yeah, Hannibal. I like how he can be clever. He's really clever, especially whenever he serves the Alana Bloom. Or not Alana Bloom, but what's her name? The Freddie Lounge, the scheming reporter, Freddie Lounge. When he serves, so he says, "So sorry." He goes, "I did not know you." He says, "I did not know you were a vegetarian." I'm just like, which I mean, it made me laugh when he tells everybody else, "Oh, by the way, none of this food is vegetarian, by the way." And I thought that was really clever of Hannibal Lecter to be, because he's a charming guy. You know, like you really want to be his best friend. I mean, he's a nice guy. And then on top of that, but you don't want to be like. You see, like, oh, he's a monster, but like, he's charming. You know, he's like, he's especially. I love when the EMT they're tracking down the EMT, and like the FBI, like they all show up. Which I did text Ryan. I'm like, why the hell does the FBI? Like, it seems like every time, like there's like they don't send just 2 agents or something. They send like a SWAT team up there with them. Like, do they just have SWAT on standby? Like, look, guys, we might have this killer. Get SWAT ready, and they're like. Really? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that was a small nitpick I just had. Where I do like how they get SWAT and everything. They open up the ambulance. The EMT is pulling out the guy's kidney. He goes, "I can't do this." Right? He says, "If I freeze, he dies." And then Hannibal Lecter is like, "Dr. Lecter," and Hannibal just comes up and he puts his hands there and saves the guy's life. I thought that was really cool. I'm like, that's probably the first life he saved, or actually, no, he saved Abigail's life, but still, I said that's really cool that Hannibal saved the guy's life. You know.
Who did he save?
He saved the guy in the ambulance's life because he was pulling the guy's kidney out. Is an EMT guy that's going around taking people's organs, their hearts, and everything. And I guess he was. Did they ever give Ryan a reason why he's doing that? Was he trying to sell them on a black market or something?
If they did, I missed it because I
didn't really think they gave an explanation. I'm like. Did I miss something? Like they never explained why he was doing this. He just literally was pulling out the guy's kidney and was like, "If I freeze, I can't take his kidney. He dies." So then they're like, "Dr. Lecter," and then Hannibal comes in there and says he did a shitty job. He first says he did a shitty job at this amateur, and then secondly he goes, "I can save him though." And they says, "I want you to come out of the ambulance with your hands up," and the guy goes out and stuff. I'm like, if I'm the EMT guy, I'm like, "No, I'm not. I would have put my hand around Hannibal's neck and go." And he says, "He dies, and this patient dies if you let me walk out of here." You know, I would say something like that. I mean, instead he just goes, "Okay."
Yeah.
And I just thought that was kind of crazy. I'm like, you have the advantage right now. You have 2 hostages now. You had 1, but I'm like, but I thought that was pretty cool and everything. And also, there's one thing I had some nitpicks about this. Like one was something petty. I'm not going to mention. It was about one shot where Hannibal's in the freezer. I thought I didn't like the shot of that. Whereas like you see Hannibal's head and he's looking in the freezer making some food and everything. And I just thought the camera, the way it was shot, I was like, I don't like that shot. Also, why would you try to save somebody if they could easily recognize you?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like
he said he was trying to save the guy's life. Why would you save somebody's life if your patient could? I'm just saying. I mean, like this guy literally goes, I could draw a picture.
Maybe in the moment he just plumb forgot he was supposed to be keeping a disguise on.
I just thought that was like, what? Like, why would he? Like, he says this. Like Will's like he was trying to save the guy. I'm like, I would not try to say if I'm a killer, I'm taking his organs. I'm like, fuck this guy. I'm like the repo man. Take the organs and leave. If your patient's going around looking for you at different events, well, wanting to be friends, it's just time to cut them loose. That's like the thing about Franklin I had an issue with. And Also, the Michael Jackson story was weird. Like, it's just like, if Michael Jackson was my friend, he says, I would have stopped him from committing suicide. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was weird. I remember that.
What the fuck did that go? That was like something Michael Scott would say in The Office. Michael
Yeah, Franklin was weird. He had some issues.
I mean, shout out to Dan Fogler. He is a good actor, but I feel like they just like he should have been around for maybe one, maybe two episodes, and now they've stretched it out to like, well, 8. We'll talk about what happens to him when we get to Fromage, but I just feel like he's outstayed his welcome. Not Dan Fogler's fault. He tried. I feel like the writing just was like, we need to find reasons to keep him around, and it just showed.
I just thought that was just so crazy, the Michael Jackson bit, where I was just like, I'm just like, it feels like a writer really thought this out. Like, it feels almost like a writer was like, I'm going to write this joke. I'm going to write this as a joke. And they're like, that joke did not age well, bro. Like, oh, well, I mean, it's coming from a crazy person anyway. I mean, so come on, like, it's fine. And they're like, it's not, I mean, it's just, it really kind of makes you portray people that are having, it's like, it kind of makes you portray Franklin in a not so positive way, to where when he died, I mean, whenever his character ultimately leaves the show, you're like, well, that kind of justifies. I just thought that it's kind of like that comment Mark Wahlberg once made, where he says, oh, if I was on the hijacked flights in September the 11th, I could have stopped 9/11. I'm just like, it's that kind of mentality where I was just like, it's almost like, you know, because remember, I mean, I don't know if you remember, Mark Wahlberg actually was meant to be on one of the flights, but he never got on the plane because he was drinking with his buddies in Boston, and he missed the flight. And I didn't sure. And then he commented saying, if I would have been on that flight, I would have stopped the hijackers, and that plane would never have hit the tower. And a lot of people were like, that's really shitty to say. That's a really messed up thing to say. And then he later apologized, saying, nobody could have stopped what was going to happen. And I mean, I just thought that's that kind of mentality with Michael Jackson's comment saying, oh, if he was, he could be alive today because of me. If I was his best friend. And I'm just like, what the fuck? It's like,
very delusional. I mean, yeah, like you said, wasn't really living in reality, as you were saying, or there's something like, didn't you think he was like maybe a psychopath himself, like Hannibal, or
they kind of portrayed him almost like he was kind of, I think if you would have, I'm not saying the writing's bad. I'm just saying, I think if you would have tweaked the story, he could have been like the psychopath. But instead, I feel like they kind of did not want to go that direction. I feel like they had Tobias already set up. I feel like they could have went either way with that character, but I guess they decided that like, it's more cooler if we make Tobias than him, because it would just be more sad if we make him the killer. He'd be a much more sadder, because it's just like
it's sad, yeah, very, yeah.
Which also, yeah, like, and also they must have. I will say, I do think though that I don't know why I was going with the last note, but I will say though, I did enjoy this episode, you know, especially how Hannibal, you know, and like Will ask him, like, how do you know how to do that? How do you know how to save people's lives? Oh, I used to be a doctor. And I'm like, oh, really? He goes, yeah. Why? He said, why did you stop? Oh, I killed a patient. A patient died under my watch. Well, that happens all the time. Oh, a lot of patients died under my watch. I'm like, that's a cop-out answer. It's like, well,
like,
a lot of patients died. And I'm like, well,
care to explain?
I was like, I would investigate him, Will, just to make sure that his story's legit. Like, you know, but I thought that was a pretty good. It was a pretty good episode. What did you think, Jason?
Yeah, I can remember bits and pieces of it. I remember, I'd probably say it's okay. Franklin was an interesting character. Didn't he say something like he had other therapists? But I think,
that was in the next episode where he says
he'd been referred a bunch of times.
Yeah, I feel he's been referred. So there's an
he's literally Bill Murray in What About Bob?
Yeah, What About Bob? Because Hannibal's going to refer him too at some point. I don't know if that's the next episode, but so I'm like, he's got this stalker mentality of he keeps getting referred because he crosses the line with each therapist evidently.
He literally looked up where Hannibal was going. He literally went there. He's like, "Oh, I know you like cello, so I went to the cello looking for you." Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Okay, like if I tell my therapist, "Oh, I know you like cars, so I went to car shows looking for my therapist." That's crazy. That is crossing the line.
Oh yeah, I think Hannibal tells him that too, if I remember right. Like,
Yeah.
you can't do that. And I thought there's gonna be more to that character. Yeah, and we'll talk about it, I guess, in the next episode. I thought they're gonna do more with him, but yeah, it was an interesting character. I like the actor. I think he did a good job.
Yeah. He was also on Walking Dead. No, it was before Walking Dead. But he was on like Walking Dead in like the later seasons, after the Rick episode.
Okay.
Yeah, and like season 9 after the Rick leaves in season 9. And then of course he was also in the Fantastic Beasts movies that ran for 3 movies.
Yeah.
Jason,
Sound Labs left a funny Hannibal Lecter comment.
Yeah, Jason, you'll appreciate this. I ate his liver with some fava beans.
Yeah. Good line.
Shout out to you, Scott. Thank you for watching. Jason, 1 to 10, what's your score?
Right now, I guess I'd give it a 7.
All right. Collins?
Well, out of 10 Hannibal Mask, I'm gonna give it, which I like that we have like how we have a rating system, so we use Hannibal Mask. I thought that's still the coolest thing.
That was your idea.
I know, like I was like, we use Superman for Smallville, we use Superman, so we use Hannibal Mask for this. And then I remember one time I was being an asshole that Ryan put like, I said I want to give it a unicorn, a star, and all this stuff. And then Ryan puts that in the ring. I'm like, well, you.
Hey, I edit this show, so don't tell me to do something that you don't want me to do, because I will do it.
I would say, I wish I should say I'll give it 7 Franklins out of 10. 7 Franklin. It's 10 like 7 Dan Folklers in them.
Well, I'll go 7 as well. I think we all agreed it was good, but not great. However, this next one is my personal favorite of the 3.
Oh, yeah.
It's season 1, episode 8. It's called, well, to quote Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory, Fromage. Lecter's patient, Franklin Freud DeVoe, worries that his friend Tobias might be a psychopath, but Franklin's growing obsession with Lecter is what concerns the latter more. Graham investigates the murder of a Baltimore musician who had his throat opened and a cello neck inserted through his mouth. Yes, that actually happened, and we'll get to that. Graham, with Lecter's guidance, interprets this as one killer serenading another. Graham's mental stability deteriorates further when he begins having auditory hallucinations of animals in pain, and when his romantic feelings for Alana Bloom are rejected. So, yeah, you'll never look at a cello the same way ever again. Jason, do you agree?
I agree. That was one of the more gruesome body death scenes that you find. You're like, what the heck happened here?
And the thing that bothered me the most is when the light passes and Will is seeing the process go down. Then he starts playing the human cello hybrid. I'm just like,
Hybrid,
okay,
yeah.
that's that's like something out of a Nightmare on Elm Street film right there.
Yeah, it's very creative, I thought. It reminds me of Dexter, the TV show. There's always some creative deaths in that one, too. Pretty gruesome. I like that. That's what I like about the
Coming
the
soon
group.
to the channel Talking Dexter.
Yeah.
Or Dex Talk.
I really just thought this was one of the best episodes, because it's like you have a guy who literally stalks Hannibal Lecter, which I was like, this dude's like, oh, I followed you. I was like going to kill you too, but then he's like, what stopped you? Oh, I followed you, and I figured we're the same. And I'm like, Hannibal Lecter kind of looked at him like, excuse me? Like, you literally are spy. That is the one thing he will not tolerate. Do not spy on me.
Yeah.
Which I'm like,
self.
I mean, Jason, like, am I missing something? Like, wouldn't he figure? Don't you think he would probably notice? Like, because he's like a guy who literally, when he's walking, I'm sure, like, he's like, remember in Silent or Hannibal the movie when he was being followed, he knew he was being followed and killed those men.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm like, I just don't think, like, I mean, obviously these are different interpretation, but I'm like, this dude doesn't realize he's being followed. I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was just like stealth mode. I mean, I don't know. Like this guy was like, I thought this was a really good episode though. I like the opening with Tobias where it shows you how he's like, how he was in process, how he makes the strings. I thought that was really creative. One thing I did not like though, it says they have to use cat guts and everything. And I'm like, what was it? Cat guts, which to be fair, what guys that I was telling somebody about it and they were telling me, yeah, they used to use horse tails to make it. Nowadays, I think they used horse tails to make the strings. And I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I did not know that. I was like, all right. Like, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's how they make it now. I think where they use and I think now it's fake, but now they used to use I think they use cat guts and then they use horse tails to do the string as well. And I'm like, why a horse tail? It's like, but also, one thing I liked about this, the dead guy with the quartet in the start was creative, especially how he plays him at the end. I was like, and I'm like, that was pretty good. And then he saw like Gareth Jacob Hobbs is like this in the audience. He's just having his hallucinations. I don't know why. Every time I see Gareth Jacob Hobbs or him hallucinating, I don't give a shit about that. I'm like, we're in the moment now. You killed him. I get it. You have PTSD. Do we really? I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about that, him having PTSD. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I sort of see where you're coming from. Like I said, it's bad enough that like we have to see Will Graham has to like go through all this every episode, but it's like we get it. Like we don't need to add more onto the trauma pile. Like we get it.
Yeah, and I mean this was also I like how Tobias figures out Hannibal is like him and tells Franklin to try to lure Hannibal out. Hannibal, and I think, Hannibal realized he has to kill him and, because he followed him and saw him kill someone. I thought that was really creative how he lures him, like he tells him, and then he has him for dinner. And then he goes, I was here to kill you. And he goes, oh, I was going to kill you. It's like we're two men. We're going to kill each other. That's crazy, right?
All that needs is the Paul Rudd clip from Hot Ones. Look at us.
Look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
It's literally, I thought that was crazy. Like, we're both serial killers. Even though Hannibal's like, I don't want to get caught though, and have no intention of going to prison. He goes, he's like, you were in my way, I will kill you. And then, which I thought this is the stupidest thing that Hannibal is. Why would he tell Will? Because then Will, like, what if Tobias rats Hannibal out? Oh, like he can say, hey, oh yeah, Hannibal ratted me out. Oh, guess what? He was killed somebody. I'll take you where the body is, dude. That's what I would do if I was Tobias. Like, oh, he ratted me out.
Yeah,
he tells him his whole plan. Oh, I'm going to kill Franklin. My plan is I'm going to kill the cops, kill Franklin, and then duck out. And I'm just like, I was like, what? You thought of this? It's almost like the guy in Scream 2, Mickey in Scream 2, where he goes, I'm going to blame the movies. It's kind of like that stupid ass mindset where you're like, why are you planning this out? Like, shouldn't you just go? Most serial killers just go beat by beat. Like Hannibal's like, I'm just going beat by beat. Why would you plot this out? Like, it just made me no sense. It's just like, oh yeah, I probably am going to get caught, but guess what? I got a plan, man. And I'm just like, that's a stupid plan.
It's a totally foolproof, like no holes in it whatsoever.
Also, like he's like, oh, I'm just friends with Franklin, so I could kill him later. Like, why wouldn't you? I was like, he's like, but Hannibal, we could be bros, man. We could be bros. Like, we go on a killing spree together. He's like, no. Hannibal's like, that's not my thing. No. Like, that's not. And so he just tells, I like how he tells Will, and then Will brings FBI agents there. And then all of a sudden, Will has that panic attack, comes in, and the cops are dead. And then, like, the guy just attacks Will. Like, he puts the strings over Will, and Will just shoots him right there. I was like, hurt his ear. He shoots him in his ear. They both get shot.
Yeah,
like, Will hurts his.
Yeah, like when that happened, I'm like, yeah, your hearing is not gone temporarily. It's gone for sure. Or at least in the 1 year, because I've shot guns at a range with a buddy of mine, and I had to like wear earplugs and earphones. Like, they take that seriously. So when like this close going bang, I'm just like, yeah, that the eardrums are not walking that one off.
I remember I had a bottle rocket blow up near my ear, and it went deaf. It rang like so loud. I was like, I couldn't hear for like 30 seconds. I still to this day have PTSD about that. I was like, oh, I can't hear. Because some asshole didn't tell me that the fucking bottle rocket was lit. So whenever I turned, it blew up, and I'm like, asshole. I was like, but yeah, I was sorry. That was my experience one time on New Year's Eve.
You had one job, cousin. Just the one.
One job, and you could have lit that fucking bottle rocket and say, "Hey, bottle rocket's lit." Instead, I'm over here facing this way, and all of a sudden, pow! And I'm like, you know. But yeah, don't you hate family sometimes? Yeah. I will say, I do like how Will, like, you know, he goes there to kill Franklin. He goes to Hannibal's office, and then he's like, Tobias, it's okay. And then Hannibal's like, Franklin, leave. And he goes, no, Franklin, you stay. And then when he's about to rat him out to Franklin, Hannibal just snaps his freaking neck. Just snaps his neck.
That was shocking.
He just goes.
And then they have a whole entire fight in Hannibal's office, which I thought was great. Like I was always wondering, like, why did Hannibal just casually have a ladder in his office? And like, it's for that scene to like break Tobias's arm in it. That's why.
Hannibal at first I was like, he's getting his ass beat because he's not trying. At first he's not trying to kill. He's just trying to defend. But then whenever it feels like Hannibal was trying just to do the defensive move, but then whenever he realized this dude's gonna try, this dude actually when he stabs him, he finally realized he goes into the like kill mode, and then he just basically like does this. He goes, he breaks his hand, and then takes a statue, gets like a napkin, a rag, and then just goes and kills him. Like punches him in the throat after he breaks his hand, punches him in the throat like his defensive move. He's like, and then he just grabs that statue and goes, and then knocks the table over to make it look like an accident. And then he goes and sits, then plays the piano to calm himself down.
Yeah, then he explained it to the police, which is interesting. Like, the Hannibal's always really good at, you know, he's smart, so he's good at talking his way out of situations.
He's like, do I need to call my lawyer, Jack? And he's like, no, you don't need to call. Do I need to call my? I was like, well, I mean, it's like a self-defense. Like he goes, Hannibal, he come here to kill Franklin, and he says I was in the way, and he killed Franklin, and then, you know, I was like, which Hannibal like literally just like straight up murdered him. Like I thought that fight scene was great though. He's just like, Hannibal was just like. Literally, it was just like he stabs Hannibal in the leg with his own scissors. He's like, he just goes like headbutts him. I was like, because Hannibal's like, I am not gonna let this dude kill me. Like hell, no, I'm not letting this dude kill me. I'll kill him first. You know, like which Hannibal, I like how he can control himself. Like he goes when someone attacks him, he could like, okay, this is defense, and then whenever like he says, then you have like he has that urge that comes out of him. Whenever he's like, okay, look, I'm gonna have to open up the beast, you know. And then he opens up, and then that's when he goes full out, and then he's winning, you know, after that, you know, because Hannibal realizes, like, you know, it's almost like he can, like, his psyche, his mentality where he's like, okay, the evil, the Ripper side of me, I can put that in a cage so that way I can go out in public and everything. But then whenever, you know, like, at night, I can, you know, I can unleash that onto the world. And so I like how he, like, keeps, like, you know, he's in therapy, he has, like, okay, therapy, you know, like I think that kind of, he even tells his doctor, my own place where, like, you know, my safe zone was violated by this man. And that kind of like bothered him because he cannot, that usually that's a safe space for Hannibal. And then he sees when you know, Tobias attacks him, he has no choice but to open, you know, use that space for violence, you know, which he never has done. And I think that's so creative about Hannibal, because especially he murders that dude like literally straight up. And then like he realizes when he breaks his hand and like he punches him in his throat. Because I'm like, when he punches him in the throat, like he knows right then and there, like, okay, I won, but then I have to finish the job because this dude is a threat to my life. And so literally he just goes like and just smashes him upside the head, kills him, and then just knocks the table. I was like, and I just like how he just plays that piano to calm himself, put himself back in the cage because he knows he's like, I'm ready for round 2, you know, and I thought that was really creative. And also, yeah, you know, why would Hannibal killing Franklin I did not like, though? You know, like, you know, I mean, you know, I thought that was, you know, I'm just saying, you know, and also why would Hannibal say he's going to kill like him too? Because that dude's now like, hey, I was going to kill you too. I thought that was kind of dumb. Like, why would you tell him you're going to kill him? Now he kind of knows that, you know, the watches. Because
they're both psychopaths, not in their right mind, you see.
So, which I just thought that was dumb that Hannibal reported him to the FBI. I'm like, dude, he can rat you out. He knows where you killed. He knows where your body you killed that one dude at. He's like, I know where you killed him. Like, I'm just saying, Hannibal was not
where you live.
I mean, but yeah, I thought that was really great, and I thought it was a really great episode. I really enjoyed it. What about you, Franklin? I mean, Jason. Franklin.
Yeah, my biggest memory is that last scene. I thought was surprising. I wasn't expecting all the Franklin to get killed. Like, I thought Franklin would, because Dan was it Fogler?
Dan Fogler.
Yes.
Dan Fogelberg is another person, but Fogler. I thought he's not a huge actor, but a big enough actor. I thought, oh, they're gonna have this character throughout the season, and so I was like, oh wow, nope, he's gone. No more Dan there. Yeah, then the fight at the end, that was really exciting, interesting. Wasn't expecting all that to happen, from what I remember. So definitely one of the more exciting moments of the show. So, and memorable moments for me. Which, yeah, because like I said, there's moments of slowness of Graham going through his PTSD or whatever, and Crawford's going through his thing with the wife and all that stuff. Sometimes I get a little bored with. I do like when we get some kills. That's not to sound like a serial killer myself, but I do love the kills. Are interesting.
Jason, the old murderer millennial.
That fascinating part of the show is like ooh,
he does like music. I'm just pointing out he does like music. Okay, he's
That's
just like
very
this.
true.
He's gonna be like Buffalo Bill. He's gonna be like goodbye in his basement. Goodbye horses, tucking it back and everything, going, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. It's like goodbye.
Okay, Jason, 1 to 10.
I'll give it a 9.
All right, Collins.
Yeah, I would say I agree with Jason, 9 as well.
Yeah, we're in agreement. I'm going 9 as well. I greatly enjoyed this one. I think this is one of my favorite episodes of the season so far, if not my overall favorite. But now we go from the penthouse to the outhouse and talk about season 1, episode 9, called Trou Normand.
I was on a beach in Grafton, West Virginia. I blinked, and then I was waking up in your waiting room.
You lost time.
There's something wrong with me.
Next Thursday, Will is on the edge of sanity.
You're unstable, and until that changes, I can only be your friend.
And he's starting to suspect the only man he can trust.
Have you told Jack Crawford?
No,
Why not?
because I was hoping it wasn't true.
NBC's Hannibal. Watch it next Thursday.
And I hope I pronounced that right, even close. A totem pole of human bodies ranging from freshly killed to decades old are found on a beach, and while Graham is investigating the crime scene, he suddenly finds himself in Lecter's office, 3.5 hours away, with no recollection of how he got there. Lecter theorizes that Graham's mind is trying to escape from having to investigate such brutal murders. So we have a couple pretty good cameos here, and I mean, the episode's not great, so I might as well just bring him up here and now. Dr. Lecter's therapist is played by Gillian Anderson of X-Files fame, and the main villain of this episode is Lance Henriksen, who was Charles Bishop Wayland in the Alien series, among other things. So we've got some sci-fi royalty here. Sci-fi, and I guess, could X-Files be counted as sci-fi? I'll say yes.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I would say it's sci-fi horror, but yeah, like Alien. But yeah.
Well, again, what I can remember of the show is that human totem pole was crazy. That was one of the most craziest things the show has done, and very creative, very inventive, I think. And I like the fact that, yeah, you have all these bodies, and you got to try to identify these bodies, and some of them are fresh, and some of them are old. So there's like a method to why, I guess, how he did it. If I remember right, I found that all pretty fascinating. And I'm trying to think of the episode, but it all happened because he was trying to murder one individual. Was it based on one individual that he murdered? I can't remember exactly why.
I think he murdered the one individual, and then he got away with it, and then he got kind of a high off of being able to get away with it. And so he just never stopped. And so then his final one ended up being his own son through a whole complicated mess of gobbledygook.
I was gonna say there was a closeness to one of the people they murdered or whatever. I kind of remember that and thought that was surprising, I guess, interesting. The investigation on all that. I thought it was an interesting idea for a plot or investigation. Another one of those they do a really good job with on the show. And I remember the reveal being interesting, I guess. And but it sounds like you guys didn't think it was that good. So now I'm trying to think. Do I remember it differently? Like I didn't think it was that bad, but you guys seem to think it was bad. So maybe I'm not remembering everything.
I just wanted it to be something different. Like I wanted it to be. I was expecting, because you expect like, okay, there's a serial killer. But the only thing is, though, with these last couple of episodes, it feels almost like, especially with the EMT one, I don't know, it's just maybe I'm just remembering the EMT one, but like it felt like he was only in one scene, the EMT killer. Like usually the killer, like with the pharmacy, the one I remember most is the pharmacy guy, the one that was killing diabetics and stuffing them with. You remember I'm talking about that one? Then the diabetics, and then it's making them like grow like flowers out of their bodies.
Yeah.
That one I thought was really good. That one was a really good killer. And this one, I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like this one was just like, okay, I killed these people just so that way I can go to prison. Because like I killed these people a long time ago, and now I want to repent. But I'm like, you just killed somebody and stabbed a guy, and then made like his. I just felt like, why do this now? Like why? I mean, why? Like like he's like, okay, you just now decided. I mean, I don't know. I just thought that this episode was like, if it would have been different if he would have had a son that's doing this, and he was like, oh, he confessed to his son's crimes or something. I don't know. I just thought it would make it more interesting. Instead, it's just like, yeah, I killed these people a long time ago, and I just dug them up, and now I killed my final victim, so I'm throwing in the towel, guys. Take me away.
Yeah, because his excuse is that he's old and he doesn't like being in a nursing home, which is interesting to say the least. And like, well, that plan kind of blew up in his face.
Like, how did he do it? How? There's no way he could have done all that work.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of the show. I never understand how they do the things they do.
Like, I will say, last episode made more sense with the strings and the neck.
When he revealed the reason, like why he did all of this, and I was just thinking of the part in Rush Hour 3 where Chris Tucker was like, you know what they do to old people in prison? They call you pops. They send you to the library. Your best friend is going to be a mouse. And I remember playing that scene in my head. I'm like, yep, your best friend's going to be a mouse, buddy.
Yeah, because you had to reference to Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, I know.
I was thinking Mile. Oh, Shawshank Redemption. Okay.
Yeah, or worse, you get your ass Shawshanked.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah. I gotta tell you something. So I was, who wrote that, right? Frank Darabont.
Yeah.
There's a joke in Entourage where because he's in like one episode, and he says that, he said, you don't, because they're talking about this guy Vinny Chase has a stalker, and he goes, Vinny, you don't understand. He goes, when I made Shawshank Redemption, you don't want stalkers, because I remember when I wrote Shawshank Redemption, every day I would get letters from inmates saying how much they loved the movie, how it resonated. I got one letter from an inmate saying he wanted to Shawshank my ass, and then he said when he got out, he showed up on my lawn, and he said, what happened you do? Then I shot him. He said, you don't want that kind of deal of responsibility, man. I'm telling you. That's like, I just think that still to this day makes me laugh when he said it. I just think so. I'm thinking like that. That just always makes me when I think of Shawshank Redemption. And I'm just thinking like that. When Frank Darabont says that on Entourage, I'm like, I kind of wanted to ask if I ever run into him. Hey, was that a real story, or was that just was that a real story? Because that sounds really like. It sounds like you really do get letters from inmates and someone actually said that to you, because I would believe it.
I kind of believe it.
I was like, it's like, because of you, man, because Shawshank Redemption, the sisters got a hold of me because they said they're trying to recreate the redemption. I was like, oh, damn. It's like, asshole. Which Andy DeFreo crawled through a river of shit that night.
Came out clean on the other side.
Oh man, that's a good movie though. I will say that is one of the greatest movies ever made. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
wouldn't-
yeah.
I will say I do like that Freddie trying to get Abigail to write her like her biography. I thought that was really well. And Hannibal and Will and everybody trying to talk her out of it, saying no, you don't want this, because he says it's going to open up the floodgates, for criticism. Yeah. You don't want that, which I mean, because people already hate her because like, oh, your father was a murderer and you're considered. A lot of people think you helped him and everything, which is true, she did. And so then if you write a book and people are thinking, oh, you're trying to profit off the victims. And so I could see that.
And this show does a good job of making you just dislike Freddie Lowndes. Like just by a lot.
Like Hannibal serves her a vegan meal and she goes, maybe you should do research and try to figure out what everybody is. And I'm just thinking like Hannibal, like, fuck you. I'm thinking his head's like, fuck you. I made you I made dinner, and then you said you were a vegan. I go in the kitchen and bust my ass to make you a nice vegan meal, and then you still talk shit about me? Get the fuck out of my house. That's what I would say. Get the fuck out now. I'll see you later with a knife.
Like as soon as that happened, Hannibal was just saying to himself, I just can't wait till someone named Francis Dollarhide gets a hold of you.
It's like, I want to kill you so fucking
Yeah, you don't want to test Hannibal, as we've learned in Silence of the Lambs. Bad things happen.
I mean, seriously, like you're like, don't piss this man off. Like he's the one thing you don't want to piss him off. Like, especially, I mean, Freddie Lounge is someone like you would think like she should be dead by now. Like, because she pissed off a lot of people. Like remember, and then I do like that Jack was snapping whenever he was. Like Will's one thing is he's teaching a class. Will's mind is slipping. He's teaching a class, and there's a bunch of people there. And all of a sudden, Alana walks in and goes, "Will, he says, I didn't mean to bother you if you're practicing for a lecture." And he goes, and he looks over and sees that no one's there. And he goes, "Are you busy? I'll come back later." She goes, "No, you're fine." I'm like, he's just shocked that I was teaching people, and they're gone. And I'm just wondering, was he just sitting there staring at a whiteboard, and everybody walked in and was like, Mr. Graham, are you okay?"
Walked in.
I'm out here.
like you all get A's for the day. Get out of here.
Yeah. I liked it when Jack snaps at Alana because like literally they're showing the dead body of the guy that Alana killed, and he's like, she goes, "When was the last time you met her?" And he said, "When was the last time you met him?" And he goes, last time whenever he tried to kill me." And he goes, "I don't believe that." And then she goes, "Jack, I will not be." And then Alana goes, "Jack, I will not be." He says, "Involved in what you're interrogating her." He says, "You're not here." Jack just snaps and says, "I did not invite you here. You're here on your own merits. Now, if you do not interrupt me again." And I'm just like, oh, he called her out. He goes, "You don't." I was like, damn. And then Jack just interrogates her until eventually she just starts crying. And I mean, it was really, he gets what he wants out of her. She basically does confess, yes, like he says, "I killed him," and like Jack's like, "That's all I wanted to know." And he's like, but it was self-defense. He attacked me. And then basically Hannibal then gets mad because it's like, you basically just ratted me out. He says, "You will not take away my freedom." He says, "You will not," but I like how Hannibal literally tells Will, like, she killed him and it would have ruined her if she would have literally, because he tried to attack her. It would have ruined her. And he says, so I had to cover for her. Which, I mean, still, that's a crime. But, literally, that is still a crime. You literally hit a body. That's tampering with evidence.
Yeah.
It's like at a certain point, you just lose track of the stuff that you've done.
But Will Graham just I'll let it slide. I'm like, what? They just drop that. It's shit happens. He literally hit a body.
Jack Crawford's not exactly the forgiving type. So, what are you guys playing at trying to hide this from him?
Jack Crawford would be like, Hannibal, yeah, you're going to have to answer for that. You're going to still you're going to have to go to court. And then, you're under arrest for, tampering with evidence. That right there is where he should have said, should I call my lawyer? But instead it's just that happens. Shit. What are you going to do, right? We've all tampered with evidence, right? Guys, come on, you see a dead body trying to cover up. It's okay. Let's just plate this dead body and throw it in the woods or something. Let's go. We gotta go to spring break, guys. Come on.
Dem kids, huh?
I was like, what you gonna? Who else but Hannibal?
That wacky so and so.
That Hannibal is always getting him to those little rascal here. You know, he's killing like, you know, when he's not eating people, he's getting in shenanigans, you know, hiding bodies, you know, that darn Hannibal. He says that also that would work. That would not literally work well for Hannibal because he just killed somebody like last episode. So it's like you killed somebody last episode and then you tamper with a body of some because Abigail killed somebody. I mean, I do like the fact that he gets mad at her and he gets like, he says, you told them the truth. You ratted me out. He goes, you were going to take away my freedom. He says, you will not take, like, he literally gets in her face, you will not take away my freedom. Like, that was like, he was just not happy because he says, like, he can't kill her there because it's like, I'm sure he would have killed her if they were at his office or if they were somewhere, but I think, but yeah, I just don't think that really, I like that the fact that Hannibal was really pissed off about that, but he ends up, but I do like this. I do like the fact that he does have a heart to heart with Will and everything, even though I think it's kind of bullshit that, you know, there's no way if you would have tampered with evidence that you would not be facing some kind of charges. Like, they just let that shit go. Like, that just happens. Like, you know, it's like, well, Hannibal did help us out find the other killer, so I guess we can let us. But yeah. But yeah, that's, what do you think, Jason?
About the episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, from what I remember, I thought it was a decent episode. But I just remember bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I guess you talked about the Hannibal has his own therapist, which was interesting. I was like, Hannibal has his own therapist? Like, okay.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
I can't
like
say-
if he can't like keep it up here, like how can he help others?
Also,
I
she
get-
mentions she had a patient that tried to kill her and Hannibal killed him.
Really? Was that what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, remember she mentions that. She goes, I said, remember, like, because she referred Hannibal, then one of her patients tried to attack her, and then Hannibal killed him
Okay.
in self-defense. Which I'm like, that right there, if I would honestly, if that was a therapist and that happened, I would not be a therapist anymore. And also, or I wouldn't have Hannibal as my patient because I'm like, no offense to you. I mean, you're a good guy and everything, but you killed one of my former patients. I had a patient kill another patient. You know, that right there should be like a, I mean, they're talking about that casually in the episode. I'm like, why are you talking about this casually? This literally happened. Like, that's a traumatic experience for both of you. Not really for Hannibal. I mean, like, that's a Tuesday for Hannibal, but still.
Yeah. It makes me wonder what the Hannibal Silence of the Lambs did to the therapy profession. Did it help it? Did it hurt it? Did people go, huh, I want to get into therapy? Or did people go, I don't think I want to get into therapy?
Well, I mean, going back to The
Maybe
Office, you hear what Ryan on The Office says, where he goes, he says, you'll learn more from Dr. Seuss than you will Dr. Freud. He goes, therapists are crazy. He says, psychiatrists are crazier than their patients. Therapists are sluts. And he goes, you don't have to be crazy to live here, but it helps. And I'm just like, Ryan, but again, to be fair, Ryan on The Office is like always thinks he's all that and shit, and like, and then he at the end he goes, "You could just use whatever as a sound bit," you know, because he thinks he's more intellectual. He's really not. He just says the shit like that, and then they're like, "What?" You could learn more from Dr. Seuss than Dr. Freud, and he's just like, oh, "What?"
But, that's interesting.
To be fair, you can learn more from Dr. Seuss. I mean, more people know about, you know, about the green eggs and ham, about, like, you know, how to rhyme. More rappers can learn how to rap from Dr. Seuss than they can from, like, listen to Eminem.
All right. Well, Collins, 1 to 10.
If I had to give us a 1 out of 10, I'm gonna say 4 out of 10.
All right, Jason.
I was going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Oh wow.
Jason gave it a Christmas gift. You gave that episode a Christmas gift.
I guess. Maybe I don't remember very well. And I just thought, oh, I remember that being interesting. I don't know.
I'm
I'm gonna be a little generous. I'll go 6. Like, I thought it was fine. Like not terrible, but not particularly great either. It was just kind of there for me. But I passed it off to all of you. What did you think of these 3 episodes? Let us know in the comments. We would love to read what you have to say. It's a privilege to do this show with these guys and Matt when he comes back. But Jason, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, my channel is Jason the Old Millennial. Check that out where I talk about movie reviews and also talk a lot about music on my channel. In fact, tomorrow, me and Adam from What the Gym are going to do I'm a live stream on my channel of our next album exchange, where we have 5 different albums from 5 different individuals, which is also Jacob Martin, Briar from Briar's Music Showcase, and also Nick from Townsend 505. We all picked an album, and we're going to review all 5 albums. Just me and Adam tomorrow on my channel. So I always enjoy doing that, discovering new music.
All right. Collins, what about you?
Well, by the time the live streamers, I would have already reviewed by tomorrow. I'm reviewing Nosferatu 2024 on my channel. Spoiler alert, I enjoyed the movie. I was debating on whether I review that or Amelia Perez, because that movie is fucking crazy. That movie is so fucking crazy. Like, literally, there is a song in the movie about getting a sex change. And it's like a Dr. Seuss sketch. Like, literally, he says, penis, vagina, transsexual. I'm just like, what the hell is the song? Like, it's crazy as hell.
I was kind of toying the idea of either doing a watch along or just doing a straight up review of it. And I don't know.
Do a watch along. It's in Spanish. The whole movie's in Spanish. Do not do that. Do not do that. Don't do that, Ryan.
Okay. Well, I'll take your word for it. But subscribe to these guys. They're both great. As far as this channel goes, got tons of stuff coming up still in 2025. Tomorrow night, well, Friday as of the edited version of this, I'm going to be joined by Jacob Martin, Nick from Townsend 505, and Scott from SoundLab Studios. He was in the chat. We're going to be starting our review series on all of Nirvana's albums, and we're going to be starting off with their very first album called Bleach. So that'll be live Friday night. But thank you all so much.
You got something in the way.
No, that's never mind. That's the second album.
Or you gotta.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Or you know what? You can, or I guess you could come as you are.
Yeah, come as you are.
I mean, really. I mean, those. Why are you reviewing Nirvana? I mean, it smells like Teen Spirit, really.
Well, on that pleasant note, if you like this, leave a like, subscribe, do the thing. For Jason, for Jacob Collins, for the ghost of Matt Wyatt, my name is Ryan Cam. Raise a glass of Chianti to you. We will see you all in the next one. Take care.
Sharpton for president, y'all. We're out.